little quirk with this game. We have like 3 different routes that are almost like the same speed within seconds of one another. So you never know what's gonna happen. I'm pretty sure I can predict that Rossu will be using the whatchamacallit, the late Brinstar route, where you clean up Brinstar, upper Brinstar later on, which leaves you a fair few less missiles early on, but we'll see what happens. If you've seen the Zero Mission 80% tournament, you've probably seen this beginning. The run is functionally the same in 100% and 80% until you get to bombs, and then there's kind of a split there, depending on what you decide to do. So that's personally what I'm waiting for, just to see what the runners have in mind. There are further splits later on down the line that might be relevant for Mandatoby if he uses a different route, but we'll see that once we get to Kraid, probably, because you can choose to leave a lot of Kraid for later on, or you can choose to pretty much do all of Kraid in almost one sitting. Rossu fumbles a little bit with the climb here. But manages to catch up a little bit. Fun fact, the little block they shoot there, that's actually to save a missile later on, because Samus's beam is like really short when you don't have long beam, and long beam is one of the like the last items we get before we get to Torian. So shooting that block is necessary to save a missile, because you have to go through that passage to get to Kraid again later on. Rossu wisely decides to wait for the bug to get a little health refill. It's important to have full health after this boss, because it means you get more chances of missile drops. But Rossu gets spikes. On the bright side, that means he has more missiles. On the less bright side, it means he's a lot slower, because spikes take forever. But I think Mandatoby opted to actually pick up drops from the worm, which is not like a bad decision at all in a race, just to make sure you have enough missiles for high room. High room is like notoriously bad if you don't have a specific amount of missiles. 4 missiles is ideal, which both runners have at this point. So there shouldn't be any issues, but like if you have 3 or even 2, you're probably still fine. It's mostly if you have less than that, it starts to get really problematic. Both of them opting for I think pretty much everyone uses this strat at this point, where they lure the bugs. Oh, Ross fell down. Anyway, the point is to lure the bugs away from the hive, so you have a clear shot at both of them. What you can do instead is you can simply like try to damage boost across every time, and it is sort of an awkward strategy, but it's technically faster if you can pull it off. It's a little random though. Oh, both of them opting to do the jump shot to kill that enemy. That enemy can go either left or right when you load the room. And if it goes left, that's kind of bad news, because you need a wall jump off the side of the platform where it'll like knock you off. So it's important to kill that enemy. Both of them getting a not a great bomb this time. I can't imagine both of them are very happy with that beginning. But I mean, Brinstar is notoriously kind of difficult compared to everything else. I'm very curious to see what will happen now. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I know what Rossu is doing, but I have no idea what Mandatoby is doing. Both of them getting decent bugs. Rossu opting to do a wider arc swing here to get a few extra missiles, which is fine. Mandatoby looks like he's doing early Brinstar, but he missed the bomb jump and he decides to reload the room. That's generally a smart choice if that happens, because you have to make it past those rippers. And if you don't make it past those rippers, it gets really awkward to do that long bomb jump. Because then you kind of have to like estimate where they are, and if you get knocked out, that's not a huge time loss, and well, I agree with the choice. to say the least. So if you do early Brinstar, you have to watch this long cutscene, unfortunately. If you didn't have to do that, I think early Brinstar would be a lot faster than it is. As it is, we sort of have two main routes that people use, either early Brinstar cleanup or late Brinstar cleanup. Early Brinstar is technically a little bit slower, but it gives you better ammo, and it allows you to do a couple of things differently that ends up saving a bit more time. So like, late Brinstar might like save 3 seconds, but it might end up costing you more than that, just because you have to collect ammo and stuff. Mandatoby pulling off the bomb jumps for early Brinstar without any issues whatsoever. There's a slightly trickier one coming up afterwards though, so we'll see if we'll see what happens. Also making his way to Kraid. We try to do as much as possible in Kraid on the first time around. You can save a lot of it for later, but that leaves you with fewer E-tanks and less ammo again, so it's also just faster to get everything first time around for real time. And this is a real time tournament, so you know. I could potentially, I wonder what Mandatoby will decide to do when he gets to Kraid. That's what I'm really interested in. That looks like a good bomb jump. Yep, Mandatoby pulls it off without any issues. That's generally like one of the harder missile tanks to get if you do early Brinstar. Just because you have to like deal with 2 rippers that go different ways, so you just kind of have to figure out whether or not you can squeeze in a bomb jump at some point. Oh, Mandatoby misses a wall jump morph. I think I saw a missed bomb jump from Ross as well, but he didn't end up losing too much time because of it. The awkward thing about like missing bomb jumps in Kraid is that some of the blocks might respawn, and then you have to wait even longer. So Ross's ammo is at 33 right now. That's not bad, but he had to farm the bugs twice to get that amount, and he ended up getting a few health drops that could have been missile drops, which is pretty unfortunate. Because if you do late Brinstar cleanup, which Ross is doing, you don't have a lot of missiles for this, and you generally want as much as possible. He gets a lot of acid 1 drops though, which helps. He needs 20 by the time he gets to a room on the left side of Kraid to kill some giant side hoppers that would otherwise take forever to kill. But he's fine, because he gets 1 more missile pack in a little bit. So despite some not so great drops, he was saved by all the drops Acid 1 gave him. Alright, the moment of truth, where we get to see what Mandatoby does in Kraid. I imagine he'll just do classic early Brinstar, and it looks like it. You can save Acid 1 for cleanup if you wanted to. It's a slower route for real time, but you can do it if you want to. Alright, so we have classic early Brinstar versus late Brinstar routes. That means it's going to be hard to estimate just who's ahead at this point. But the routes converge when we get to Torian, so in like something like 25 minutes we'll know who's ahead. Though you can usually estimate, because I want to say the difference between the 2 routes at that point is like 2 minutes or so, so if Mandatoby is less than 2 minutes behind, well, like behind, quote unquote behind, he's probably ahead in total. Just because you don't have to do cleanup later for Brinstar. Mandatoby has 37 missiles. That's the beauty of cleaning up Prince early, is that you don't really have to worry about ammo as much. Acid, oh, he misses a couple of missiles. Acid one takes 30 missiles to kill. He misses more missiles. That's what a waste. he was saved by the massive amount of missile drops he got as well, but what a waste. I'm looking forward to see Ross's crate fight. There are a lot of people who have issues with the crate fight just because it requires that you're pretty good at either spamming missiles in midair or timing them really well. Optimally, you should only see Crate open his mouth twice and you'll kill him in those 2 rounds. But realistically, we're probably going to see more, at least from Ross. I don't know how good Mandatoby is at the crate fight. I'm being very pessimistic here, but I mean, we could see some we could see some surprises. Oh no, Ross, why? He doesn't even do the bomb jump back up. The idea is, do you want to hit that block as you're falling and then land on the platform right after? But I guess he was like a bit too slow with shooting the block and he ended up falling all the way down. That's kind of a bad detour to have to do. That does not look like a convincing crate fight from Ross. He's doing single missiles. Oh, that was like 5 rounds. Oh, that's like extraordinarily bad, but he didn't fall down at least. Falling down there can be really troublesome, because getting up and hitting him after the platform is broken is just really annoying. At least he's fine for missiles. He has 20 missiles. You need a little bit of missiles after you fight Crate, just because you have to get across a pit with a lot of enemies that you need to kill. Otherwise you risk they push you down. So after Crate, there's a large section where we have to basically pick up some items in Criteria, pick up a lot of items in Norfair. And Norfair is a scary part because there are a lot of heater rooms, and generally you want to avoid refilling too much. Oh, Ross hit the switch. So the reason I got so excited about Ross hitting that switch is that, well, as you probably can imagine, it takes a bit of time if you hit that switch running, but that's like sub-pixel perfect. You don't always get a chance. It's like a frame perfect shot in some cases, but not always. I've done tons and tons of 100% runs, and I think I've hit that switch like twice during those many runs. Anyway, as I was saying about Norfair, there's a lot of heated rooms there. You want to avoid refills. All Mandatoby falls down as well. But obviously you don't want to die in any of the heated rooms either, and like missteps in the heated rooms can lead to death, which I hope we don't get to see in a tournament race. So I hope the contestants play it safe for the most part. Mandatoby gets a very good crate fight. That was very convincing. That should save him a lot of time overall, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's overall in the lead right now. So the missile tank that Ross is picking up right now is one you can choose to pick up, as Ross is doing right now, or you can leave it for a little bit later, and that's technically faster, but that means you have to do some stuff while you're holding a speed boost, which a lot of players don't really want to deal with just because of, you know, chance of failure, but it's technically faster to grab it later. And I still can't believe Ross hit the switch during the room Mandatoby is in right now. That's such a rare thing to see. Like, I was fully expecting we would have a tournament without anyone anyone accomplishing that. Sometimes it's the little things you get amazed by. Right, so again, it looks like Ross is ahead at this point, but you have to keep in mind that Mandatoby did early print stock cleanup that Ross will have to do later. So I think overall, Mandatoby is looking to be slightly ahead at this point. We'll see though. So unfortunately, we had to make this detour criteria. It's to pick up power grip and stuff. Otherwise, we don't actually have access to Norfair. There's the vine blocking the entrance to the right side of Norfair if you don't have power grip, which is a really weird design choice, but it's something we had to deal with regardless. I guess it doesn't really matter for 100% though, because in addition to picking up the unknown item as well as the power grip, there's actually a super missile tank that we can pick up in 100% because we have speed booster. The super missile is really good just because super missiles in general are really good, but it's also necessary to open green doors, which there are some of in Norfair. So we can clean up some rooms early on. Ross missed the wall jump there. That's not good. Missed the wall jump again. What is he doing? Ross notoriously has some problems with specific wall jumps, but it's the first time I've seen him mess up that wall that badly, I think. Luckily, he doesn't lose the speed boost. But he still lost a fair bit of time doing that. Ross looking a little bit shaky on this bomb jump. He still gets out of there before the statue is completely up though, so it still saves time, but... I'm worried about all this shaky movement from Ross. I definitely think Mandatoby has pulled ahead at this point, and he's kind of giving him more and more of a lead at this point. Because Mandatoby's movement has generally been pretty good, actually. I haven't seen too many mistakes from him. Interesting missile shot that Mandatoby did there. Not sure what the point of that was. You're not exactly worried about running out of missiles at this point, unless you decide to skip all the refills in Norfair, which is a really risky thing to do, that you can do if you do early Brimstone. But it also risks you dying in the heated rooms, or not having enough super missiles later on. So it's definitely not something I'd consider doing in a race. And I'm generally impressed by almost all of the runs I've seen so far in the 100% tournament. It feels like the hype for this tournament is bigger than the any percent tournament. I've seen a lot of people actively practice a lot for this tournament, more so than I've seen people play Zero Mission in a long ass time. And it looks like it's paying off for the most part. Like, both of these runners are doing pretty clean stuff. It's been, I mean, we've seen a few flops here and there, but generally it's been pretty clean for the most part. Oh, Ross accidentally freezes the river there. What is he doing? That's a weird... Oh, he forgot the missile? I didn't even notice. Maybe he just does things that way, I guess. Normally you pick that up when you come from the left at the beginning of that room, but I guess it doesn't really matter too much. Maybe he just plain forgot. Or maybe he just likes to put his own little spin on things. Mandatoby's in that room right now, so I imagine that's what he does. He does the diagonal spot, which I don't think actually saves any time. Fine. I was worried a bit there for Ross, because what you can do when you break those speed blocks is that you can stop just as you destroy that first one, and you can store the speed booster, and then you can challenge block through the room to high jump. But it's super risky, because if you accidentally stop too early, you'll have to recharge the speed booster, obviously. Ross decides to refill at high jump. You can either choose to refill at high jump or at screw attack, depending on what you feel like doing warfare. I want to say the quote-unquote less risky thing to do in terms of refill is to refill at screw attack instead, because that's one of the easier heated rooms to get through, and that way you will be safe for the rest of Norfair. The amount of health rossu has right now is fine. Like, he should not die at this point. But he has sometimes messed up some things in one of the later heated rooms, which could potentially spell death, and I can see he collects a few extra drops there, so... I can't blame him for playing it safe. Okay. Rossu tries for the good old morning spark, which is a nickname for a specific chat. Oh no, Mandatoby, no. Oh, I'm scared for both contestants now. So Mandatoby missed the missile there. That means he has to get that missile and clean up, and that's kind of a detour. Meanwhile, Rossu is looking a little shaky on health, and he takes a lava dip. Oh no, please don't die. And here I was talking about how well both of the contestants were playing. Please don't die, boss. Okay. Made it, boys. So Rossu is fine at this point. Mandatoby unfortunately missing that missile and having to pick it up later and clean up, and that's kind of a big detour, unfortunately. I'm not sure how much time that's going to cost him, but if I had to estimate, I'd say maybe like 25 seconds, probably. At this point, the lead is kind of up in the air. Oh man. Generally, I like doing sort of a who's in the lead right now analysis, but that's really tricky considering what both contestants are doing right now. Different routes, mistakes that will have to be fixed later on, stuff like that. Mandatoby getting hit there doing doesn't get the speed boost. I think Mandatoby is one of those people who would love to do the money spark, so he's probably upset about getting hit doing that run. At least he's not in any danger of dying, though. It would take some pretty big movement mistakes to be in any sort of risk at this point. We're also messing up a little bit with the Imago Cocoon, has to shoot a few extra missiles on the left side, but generally an alright fight. It's one of those fights that even if they go wrong, it's 100% so you have high jump, and can therefore easily like correct your mistake by simply jumping up and shooting a few extra missiles while during some of the downtime for the boss. Ross makes it to Ridley and then immediately decides he doesn't want to use that entrance instead. It might seem backwards, but we can't actually go to the Imago boss before we've ventured through the front entrance to Ridley and then back again. Did Ross fire the supers too quickly? No, I think he's fine. Yeah, he's fine. So that boss actually like spawns a little bit earlier than we actually see it on screen. So the main strat is firing a few super missiles up to get as much damage in as possible, and then simply like destroying it with missiles afterwards. And Ross gets the somewhat difficult Imago Spark afterwards, which saves quite a few seconds. So I'm sure he's happy about that. It's generally one of the harder things to do in Ridley. Ridley is pretty much like Choke City for Zero Mission 100%. There are a lot of things that could go wrong, and if they go wrong, oh boy, you're gonna lose a lot of time. So what you see Ross doing there is a neat little glitch that was found a little more than a year ago, I think. It's basically the game getting confused about standing on top of multiple frozen enemies, and so it kind of warps you to a different position if you kill them both at once. It allows you to get through the floor, the speed blocks in the floor without having to charge a speed boost in the other room. It requires Ice Beam, obviously, which is something we normally do not get before going to Ridley, but it ends up being faster that way. So something both runners will be on the lookout for is super missiles. You don't want to refill before fighting Ridley in 100%, so you are generally on the lookout for super missile drops before you get to the fight. And Ross has a nice amount right now. Ideally he'd have 2 more, but he has more chances to get super missile drops throughout Ridley area. So it's not a big issue. Ooh, he goes for the pretty risky diagonal Shine Spark there that saves like a second or so. It's risky because if you like accidentally start the Shine Spark too early, you're not going to destroy the missile blocks. And that means you have to go all the way back to the previous rooms and like restart that speed boost. I would absolutely not judge anyone for not deciding to do Diagonal Spark in a tournament race just because it's such a minor time save. It's not really necessary. But he does it, the madman. Also, Mandatoby has a bit of an issue hunting down that enemy. You need to kill that enemy to pull off that glitch for some reason. I couldn't explain the specifics to you, but you need to kill that enemy and you need to collect the straw to pull off the glitch. So Ross pretty much pulled off all the difficult rooms in Ridley without too much of any issues. So he's in a very good spot. Mandatoby still has the entire right side of Ridley left to worry about. If you fail those rooms, it's one of those where you have to reload the room and it takes a long time. But it's nice to see runners not fail it just because, you know, it's something at this point you're expected to be able to do first try. Boss farming a few extra supers. And he's pretty much at max now, which is obviously the what you're hoping for. You don't always get a lot of super drops in Ridley, even though you have actually a lot of chances to get super missile drops. Mandatoby, like I talked about earlier, decides to not do the diagonal spot there, and I really cannot fault him for not doing that, since it's such an unnecessary risk to take. That was a supremely good Ridley area for Ross. And Mandatoby has been looking pretty good so far as well. That's exactly the kind of thing we want to see in a race. And Mandatoby gets the speed jump on the first try as well. That speed jump is like a notoriously difficult thing in Zero Mission. You generally only, like the jump to get through without stopping is like a 3 or 4 frame window depending on some things. It's a hard trick. And not a lot of people are happy about it. But they both got it, and they generally been doing really well in one of the hard areas, so good on them. Ross has 9 super missiles for Ridley, so he dies almost immediately. Ridley is a big joke in 100%, even more so than any percent where he's actually not a big threat either. But in 100% you have so much health that you're not in danger of dying, and you have so many super missiles that he basically dies almost immediately. After you kill Ridley, you ideally want him to drop as many super missiles as possible, because you want missiles for Torian later on without having to refill. Ross got none, but instead he got a lot of super missiles from that hallway with a lot of enemies. So he's fine right now. 10 is the maximum he can have. So he doesn't have to farm super missiles anywhere else. Mandatoby gets the trick where you spring ball up during that shaft again, which saves a little bit of time over using the ball cannon. Normally you would kill some of the owl enemies that Ross just ran past if you were low on super missiles, but there's no need for him to do that since he pretty much got all he wanted. It's still really hard for me to tell who's in the lead right now, just because Mandatoby missed that missile earlier. It's gonna make it really hard to judge who's in the lead. Oh no! Boss, he misspaces that shine spark slightly, and that's a major time loss, especially because he's messing up like every single wall jump at that point. Fortunately he has screw attack, so getting back up is not a big issue, but taking the shine spark is a lot faster. But he misspaced it slightly to the right, and he ends up bombing on the ceiling. That's such a dumb mistake that should never happen. He's probably kicking himself right now. I would be. He also completely forgot about the ball cannon, which is right next to where he is. So he had a nice and easy backup, but he didn't use it. To be honest, I think if I was in that situation too, I'd forget everything about the ball cannons as well. Like, if you make one of those really uncharacteristic mistakes, you're not really thinking clearly. You're just like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Mandatoby goes for the springboard bomb jump to get that missile. And now Mandatoby is fine for super missiles as well. I didn't actually see whether or not he got a lot of drops from Ridley, but either way, the ideal thing is to have 10 missiles leading Ridley, and he's just fine in that. Right now Ross has to clean up Upper Winster, so this is where we'll start to see if they're actually like neck and neck. It's a little more complicated now that Mandatoby missed the missile, but generally we should get a somewhat clearer idea of who's in the lead right now, and I'd say because of that shine spark bonk, it's probably Mandatoby. Oh, Ross misses the jump there, and he destroys a couple of. That's unfortunate, but we'll see what happens. Ross does the little dance to lure the bugs, which is totally a legit time-saving thing you can do. And not at all superstition. Yeah, at this point it looks like Mandatoby is ahead. Or he would be, if he hadn't if he hadn't missed that missile earlier on. I actually think they're pretty even right now if you consider how long it's going to take Mandatoby to get that missile later on. But obviously, if Mandatoby didn't do that, he would have had a pretty substantial lead at this point. I'm curious to see how both contestants will handle Ross jumping up into the river. I'm curious to see how both contestants will handle cleanup, because there's a lot of small time savers that are very risky you can end up doing there if you want. Yeah, so Ross picks up long beam roughly 25 seconds after Mandatoby does, which is, funnily enough, how long I would estimate getting that missile that Mandatoby missed would take. So in reality, I think these contestants are roughly neck and neck. We'll see. Hopefully Mandatoby doesn't forget to pick up the missile and clean up. That's the worst thing that can happen. Like, if you've played 100% for a while, you'll probably like, oh, I'm just following this route. I'm not really thinking about picking up missiles as much as I'm just thinking of following a specific sequence. So if you suddenly have to break that sequence and do something different, well, let's just say that I hope he remembers. Torian in 100% is pretty trivial, mostly because you have enough health that you're not really worried about dying, even if you have to, even if you accidentally mess up. And you have a lot of super missiles, so generally taking care of Metroids is pretty trivial and fast. The more super missile drops you get, the better still, but it's not going to be a huge difference regardless, because you have enough ammo for everything you need. Mandatoby getting a lot of drops, it looks like. Ross not doing too bad. I'm not sure I agree with Ross going below 4 super missiles. Generally, you save 4 super missiles so that you can easily take care of Mother Brain later on. And going below that is just sort of risky. He got it back though, but I'm not sure I agree with betting on that. Boss getting a few more supers. If you have extra supers after the Metroid rooms, it's not complete waste, because you can either use them on the Sepetites or you can use them on the glass from Mother Brain. All things that like slightly speed it up. Mandatoby does Mother Brain very well. No issues whatsoever, basically. So now the pressure is on Ross to repeat that. Decides to take a lava dip. That's always an awkward lava dip because it takes a while to get back up. Did he just fire a missile? I think Ross just fired a super missile early, which is not how you're supposed to do this fight. That's going to cost him an extra round. Not a huge deal, but he's looking more and more shaky, which is problematic when his it's questionable whether or not he's in the lead or not right now. Mandatoby's escape looked pretty flawless from what I can see. Moving on to Suitless area, which is, if you follow the 80% tournament, it's pretty much the exact same thing. The only real fundamental difference is that contestants will have more health in Suitless, which is of course nice because less of a chance of death. But since you have more health, it also takes longer to refill at the start of the Suitless area, so it's potentially it's more worth it to skip that refill, just because refilling takes so long. But I don't think either contestant will risk that, just because if you don't refill, you only have 90 down health, which is instant death if you get hit by any pirate during the super section. We'll see though. I mean, I wouldn't completely rule it out that it's something that could happen. And generally, I think most of the high-level players in the tournament are good enough at Suitless that getting hit in that section should never be an issue. But it's risky, so, I mean, you never know. Mandatoby definitely takes the heal. He might be ahead at this point. If I had to say someone was ahead right now, it'd definitely be Mandatoby, even if he has to pick up that missile tank later on. So I think it's a wise decision to heal, so as to not risk anything. And I don't think Ross is comfortable enough in skipping the heal that he's going to do that. Alright, so none of the contestants got them out of this game. That's a relief. And since most of them healed, we're not going to have any heart attack waiting to see if they'll make it through this section. Let's see if Ross can do tripwise skip a little better than Mandatoby. Yep, he gets it. Tripwise skip is one of those things that actually only save about a second over simply rushing through that area, but most people tend to go for it, surprisingly, considering it's a fairly hard trick. Mandatoby does not go for the fast border patrol strat. You can sneak under one of the searchlights in that room, and it takes about 2 seconds. It does require some pretty precise positioning, and it requires you to stop moving within a 10 frame window, which is not too bad, but getting into position quickly enough is mostly the issue with that trick. And the fact that it can be hard to spot when you have to run. I personally don't think there's much of a good visual cue for it, but some people might disagree. Ross also opting to play it safe in that room. I can't really blame them too much. Yeah, keep in mind that even though it looks like Mandatoby has quite a big lead right now, he has to pick up a missile later on because he messed up something earlier. So it's kind of up in the air right now whether or not he's actually ahead. My money is on the fact that he has a slight lead, though. If I had to bet on anyone right now, it'd be Mandatoby. Mandatoby pulls off the patented Sam strat, where you turn off the alarm after that room, so you don't have to wait for it later. Both of them have had really solid suitless sections so far. I haven't really... Well, I think Mandatoby messed up triple I skip, but other than that, it's been very, very solid for both of them. Oh, Mandatoby accidentally hitting the I-beam there. It's not a big deal. As you can see, it only does 16 damage. So even if they had opted to not refill, it would not spell death. And see, this is what I mean about the whole skipping the refill in Suitless. None of them has taken any like major damage so far. None of them got hit by pirates, so they could totally have opted to save those seconds if they wanted to. But it's, you know, it's a big risk. It's a race. It might do something to your nerves. Oh, and just as I say that, Ross hits a pirate. So, good thing they did actually refill. Generally a pretty even showing from both of them in terms of the suitless section. So it's all on cleanup now. Oh, and there's a lot of stuff you can mess up in cleanup. The race is definitely not over yet. The thing about the cleanup is that there are a lot of tricks that are kind of like grid area, means that you waste a lot of time with just like one misstep, and that can make all the difference in the world at this point. Mandatoby looks like he's having a pretty decent Charlie fight here. Oh, I'm surprised that shot hit. That was really close. Yep, pretty much flawless Charlie fight for Mandatoby. The pressure is on Ross now. He even pulled off the glitch that allows you to move during that cutscene. It's not really like a super hard glitch to pull off or anything. The idea is just that you kinda, if you're in a turnaround animation when the cutscene starts, you can start moving around. Ross looking pretty good so far. No misses. And he actually hits Charlie very close to the middle. I would assume that saves some time, because at the end he has to move into the middle. But it's not something you, as a player, directly have control of. It's unfortunately one of those bosses that is pretty random. Mandatoby has to worry about this shine spark sequence right now. It's oh, yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about. It's particularly scary because if you drop it, it means you have to go all the way back down and restart it. It's a big time loss. And now Ross is looking like he might have a slightly better situation on hand than Mandatoby. Mandatoby missing the missile there, not a big deal. He gets the shot and just recharges the shine spot. I mean, oh no, Ross bonked the ledge there. That's unfortunate. It's still less of a time loss than what Mandatoby did, but looks like both contestants having issues with this particular spot. There are worse places where you can fail it. Like if you accidentally bonk the little ledge that Ross is at right now, that's even worse. Okay, so like Mandatoby lost a slightly more time overall, but generally it was pretty bad for both of them. I imagine Ross is kicking himself for that, because that was like his chance to catch up, basically. So at this point in the game, we basically have to go get power bombs, because there are a lot of upgrades throughout the game that are locked behind power bomb blocks or similar. And to actually exit the pirate area, we need power bombs, because pretty much every door is locked by a power bomb door. So it's a necessary upgrade to get at this point. There's like really no progressing without getting power bombs at this point. Generally, this is like a pretty relaxing part of the run, I'd say. It's not really too much you can mess up there. There's a lot of minor time savers, but it's pretty chill. But then it gets particularly bad like right after. Like Mandatoby had slight issues with some of the pirates there. So Mandatoby is not opting for the charge beam strat in that particular room. You can see how he, like every other block he has to get past there is one you can simply shoot with your beam, and like every other block is a bomb block. So ideally you want to hit every single one of the regular blocks with your wave beam, like Ross did there. But if you crouch and fire the charge beam at the same time, you can hit one of the blocks that is slightly off screen, saving a little bit of time. Oh, that's an interesting strat for Mandatoby, shooting the super missile there. I never thought to do that. It's actually pretty smart. So you don't have to get up and shoot the pirate later on, you can simply keep rolling. Yeah, it looks to me that Ross slightly caught up. He's not too far behind at this point. And like if I had to make a guess, I think he's slightly ahead at this point actually. With everything. With the missile tank that Mandatoby has to get later. It's pretty exciting. We're not gonna see who's ahead for like another 10 minutes or so, I think. Because it takes them a while to get to that part of Norfair where Mandatoby has to go out of his way to collect that missile. It's pretty exciting. I mean, it's pretty much anyone's game right now. And there are a few things you can choke on still at this point. I'm particularly interested in seeing oh, Ross. He had a bit of an alternative strat in that room, and it almost cost him dearly, but he just barely manages to hit that speed block. Mandatoby takes the mandatory heal. The heal is mandatory because you need power bombs. Nothing drops power bombs in the pirate area. And here's one of the big things you don't want to choke on. The idea for this trick coming up is that you want to collect a missile tank in a fast manner. To do this, you need to start a speed boost just as soon as the glass breaks from placing the power bomb. And with that, you can collect this E-tank in a slightly alternative manner. Oh, did he not place power? Oh, okay. He was just a bit slow on placing the power bomb. And it looks like Mandatoby is fine. Gets the E-tank just fine. There are backups if you miss that strat, but generally they're all pretty slow and not something you want to have to deal with. So the pressure is on Ross now. Looks good to me. Okay, I'm glad none of the contestants failed that. I hate to spell doom for anyone, but if he had failed that, it probably would have. You probably would not have recovered. So in the room Ross is in right now, you can potentially get a power bomb drop, and what do you know? Ross gets it. What does this mean? It means he can do. It means you can save a long shine spark sequence in one of the upcoming rooms, and it looks like Mandatoby actually got the power bomb drop too, and I didn't see it. Cool. This means you can space boost through that entire room, as opposed to landing a little earlier to start a speed boost. And it means you don't... It generally makes this trick a lot easier. So I mean, that's like less pressure for both contestants. Because it allows you to destroy some power bomb blocks on the floor, so you can just basically run through an area, instead of doing a complicated shine spark sequence. I'm surprised we saw the power bomb drop from both contestants. That power bomb drop is actually pretty rare. I think every single enemy in that room where you usually try to get the drop have like a 10... Actually, probably less than a 10% chance of dropping it. I think it totals out to something like a 25% chance or something, if you kill every single enemy in that room. So, like, basically it doesn't happen very often. And it just happened for both contestants. And if you get the power bomb drop, it's a 5-second time save. So could have made a big difference, but both contestants ended up getting it. Here's another thing you don't want to choke. You have to space boost through this area, and if you hit something, well, you have to restart that whole sequence, and you don't want that to happen. Mandatoby does it just fine. Now the pressure is on Ross. Oh no! He let... So unfortunate. It looked like he tried to go way low through that door transition. You don't actually have to do that, because the top of the door is like speed blocks. So you can actually go really high and it's not an issue. I don't want to say that spells doom for Ross or anything, but it's a little more up in the air who's in the lead right now. I'll try to see if I can estimate the difference between the two right now. No, I'm pretty sure Mandatoby took the lead at this point. But there's still like 15 minutes left roughly, so plenty of chances for things to go wrong for both parts. Cleaning up crate is generally pretty trivial. There's nothing that can really go wrong here too much. I think Ross is a little over 30 seconds behind Mandatoby, and Mandatoby has to do a detour that probably costs him about 30 seconds, so it's very neck and neck right now. There are some pretty YOLO strats you can do in Norfair here. I would be surprised if any of the contestants go for it, but we'll have to see. Oh man, I can't wait until they converge at this point, because it's going to be so interesting to see who's ahead. I've been in doubt about who's ahead throughout this entire thing. And now we might finally get our answers. Oh, Mandatoby misses the missile there and have to like do a short loop. He's like throwing away a few seconds here and there compared to Ross, which might very well make the difference at this point. What is Ross doing? He keeps accidentally getting ledge grabs and dragging himself up instead of just dropping down. Mandatoby wisely decides to go for the shine spot through that long room. You can do a space boost. It's risky as hell though, because that is one long room you don't want to traverse without a shine spot or a space boost. And I can only, like, I'm pretty sure that Ross is going to do the same thing. It's a nice time save though, so it could potentially make the difference right now. I just don't think we'll see it from either contestant. Yep, Ross also decides to go for the shine spot here. It's not something you want to do if you're not comfortable with it in any case. So we're almost at the point where Mandatoby has to collect the missile he missed earlier. I still think he's slightly ahead, but we'll have to see. It gets pretty exciting though at this point, because there are not too many difficult tricks left in the run anymore. There are things that can go wrong, of course, but generally, I think these contestants are both good enough that they're not going to be issues. Okay, Mandatoby. No, Mandatoby. Okay. I thought he almost forgot the missile there for a moment, but it looks like he reminded himself to go for it. Okay. That's a bit of a relief, and I guess misses the missile one more time. Is he gonna walk through the room again? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, it looks like Mandatoby is slightly ahead at this point. Oh, it's very close though. Oh, this is so close. Mandatoby has a slight advantage there because he got a speed boost from entering the previous room, but then neck and neck. Oh, this is so good. This is exactly what I wanted from this race. I can't believe how close they are. Oh man, I'm so glad Mandatoby didn't forget that missile, because he definitely looked like he was gonna forget about it for like 2 short seconds. Everything matters at this point. Ross gets slightly more distance on that space boost. That could matter. That might end up mattering at this point. I really hope none of them do anything stupid at this point. I don't want to see this kind of close race ruined by some kind of dumb mistake. There's a shine spark sequence here that would cost a lot of time if they miss it, but it's really simple. I'd be very disappointed in both contestants if they messed it up. Looks good on both parts. Yeah. Man, this is so close. It's gonna come down to tiny movement optimizations at this point, I think. And I actually don't know who has the advantage in that. There's a trick you can do right before the final boss, when you collect the final item upgrade in this game that saves like 4 seconds. I don't think either contestant would go for it, but it could potentially make the difference at this point. My eyes might be deceiving me, but it looks like Ross ever so slightly caught up. He's like 1 second behind now. I think he was like 2 something seconds behind before. The detour they're doing right now is towards an area we've been early in the game. Unfortunately, to get the item in this area, you need power bombs, and you can only get power bombs in the other end of the ship. So if someone feels like being a glitch hunter and seeing if they can find early power bombs for this game, it would save a lot of time. If only because we can cut out detours like these. We've been trying though. Don't get your hopes up. I think Ross lost a bit of time again due to movement stuff. Let's see. And he's still about 1.5 seconds behind. Oh, this is too good. Besides this slightly faster way of collecting the the E-Tank at the end, I can't really think of too many things they can do at this point at the same time. It really is just a matter of who has the slightly better movement, and probably who gets the slightly better Mecha Ridley and Black Pirate fight. And potentially who's the better space jumper here. It looks like Ross got a bit of time in that room, for instance, compared to Mandatoby. Did he place that power bomb too high? Oh, thank God. That was so sketchy. Still neck and neck. There's a lot of space jumping coming up, so if Ross has slightly better space jumping, that might be all it takes to make the difference here. Oh man, none of the contestants are making any real mistakes right now. They know what's at stake here. Their honor and glory. Both of them doing their stupid little zigzagging. Ooh, Mandatoby messed up. We have a lead switch. A tiny, tiny lead switch. I wonder if you can keep this. I don't think 1/2 a second is a convincing lead by any means. Oh, they're synced now. Pretty much. Ross did like an extra jump too early, and that close to 1/2 second gap they had. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, just by looking at things, it looks like Ross has like slightly better movement at this moment compared to Mandatoby. I think even before that little Mandatoby mistake, and he just made another one, which was pretty unfortunate. He was still inching closer, a tiny bit. And now he has like a 2-second lead or something like that. This is very, very dependent on how this final trick goes, as well as the final boss fights. The final boss fight does have a bit of variance. Oh, Ross messes up a little bit, and they're synced again. Oh my god. I can't handle this. Oh my god. I think Mandatoby has like a point something lead. Oh, Ross messes up a little bit. Takes the lead again, Mandatoby does. Alright. I'm praying that none of them will mess up this final trick, because if they do, it's curtains, I think. No, Mandatoby, did he? I missed it. Did he break the block? No, he didn't. Oh no, Mandatoby. And that gives Ross a pretty comfortable lead. He could very well throw that away, either on the final boss or on the final escape sequence. But I was hoping not to see that. That's unfortunate. No, it's definitely not curtains for Mandatoby yet. Definitely not. This fight is longer than in any percent because the boss has triple health when you have all the upgrades. So generally, who like, skill is definitely going to make a difference here. Ross seems to miss quite a few supers there. That's not a good start to the fight. Okay, he still gets a decent fight. Mandatoby, he's dropping frames right now, so it's hard for me to tell whether or not he got a good fight or not. That looks a little bit problematic though. Yeah, I want to say he's actually being slower here. Still not a terrible fight by any means, but he needs better at this point. Ross does the door bomb and ends up wasting a couple of frames. Door bomb is such a meme. Alright, this is Ross' game to lose this right now. If he doesn't mess up anything majorly, he has this in the bag. But there's a pretty big thing you can mess up, so you never know. I'm just holding my breath there. I don't wanna I don't wanna do anything to jinx them. I just wanna see a good final escape sequence. Okay, Ross is looking like he's no. No, he's choking. Why? Okay, this is Mandatoby's game to win right now. He is right behind him. Okay, it's gonna come down to the Black Pirate fight now. Ross gets a good fight. Okay. I think our winner here is Ross. With a not so impressive finish. But he wins by like 5 seconds still. Jeez, that's too much for my heart. I need a break now. Jeez. Well, I'll say this much. Both contestants knew how to make that one close. Who joined me now, just now?
Ross.
Okay. How do you feel, Ross?
Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm still shaking right now.
Ross, that was not a very impressive finish.
No.
Is that
No.
Mandatoby?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Good race to both of you. That was extremely entertaining. I don't know if you paid attention to the stream at all, but once Mandatoby got the missile he missed early on, you were neck and neck for the entirety of the last stretch of the game.
That was the moment that I started shaking. Oh my god, dude, that was a really close race.
Did you miss the shine break?
Yes, I missed it. I said, okay, I have to do this really quick to win this, and I was staying very far to the right, but I said, okay, I can do this. It's like 1 or 2 frames, and then I missed it, so I had to do the backup. And
that's unfortunate because that probably made the difference.
Yeah,
I totally choked the final escape thing.
Yeah,
yeah,
I was looking at the chat, and someone said, okay, this is close, so I thought, okay, maybe I should do space jump eating, and I was thinking about it really, really hard, but in the end, I chickened out. Wasn't ready for it.
I would have done that too. But I mean, this is probably the closest race we've had so far on the stream, so that was very entertaining.
Yeah, it's like 6 seconds. That was really close. I'm really not happy about pulling that John there. That was very costly.
Understandably so. Yeah, that definitely cost you.
But apart from that, I think overall my run wasn't too bad. Good parts.
You missed the missile tank in the heated room?
Yes, I had to go back for it.
Oh no.
He was quite a bit ahead until that happened. Because he had to get that missile, you ended up being neck and neck right after Mandatoby had collected it, and it looks like Mandatoby almost forgot the missile for a sec. He was like pretty close to moving away from the room.
As soon as I messed up the shine spark for the escape, I was sure that I was gonna see that done pretty soon.
Wait, you missed it completely?
Yeah.
No, the last when you refresh the speed booster the second time, just before the door, I hit diagonal down instead of down, so I just skidded into the wall.
Ah, shit.
And I thought I was done right there.
I thought you were done too.
Man, that was close.
I was expecting a good race, but not that close. Oh.
I'm gonna sit in the corner in a fetal position for a few hours.
Yeah, I'll have to calm down too. It's I'm still shaking.
I believe we have another zero mission race coming up, so maybe we should just pass that on. Who's doing this? I'm not even sure.
Ross, what in-game time did you get?
53:39.
Oh, I got 53:34.
Oh, that must be the early burn star.
Yeah, I did early burn star.
Mandatoby had a few extra doors too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Where'd you get a few extra doors?
I had to reload some rooms. What was it? I can't remember.
You had to reload for the bomb jump early on, and you had to get that missile again.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
That's 4 extra doors.
I did save strats in quite a few places, like Ridley, but I think I could have won this, but
you could.
I knew it would. I knew it would be an extremely close one. And I got some decent RNG. I got some decent RNG too. Like Ridley gave me 2 drops, and I got 3 from the owls, so it was 10 supers leaving Ridley. So I thought overall, it's not going that bad.
Right. I think we have to pass on the torch to the next run now, which is Lord Alu versus Mickey.
Okay.
And Mickey is someone who has not been playing the game for a long while, so I'm looking forward to seeing him play again, personally. Lord Alu is not particularly active either, so I mean, these are just 2 people that I do not see stream often, but are both veterans to the 100% category. Should be good. I think.
Then Mickey did some de-rusting yesterday. He was averaging about +3 minutes on his run.
Could be close then.
Oh yeah.
Alright, I'll let you handle the commentating here, JC. Thanks for joining us, Mandatoby and Rossu. I hope you enjoyed the race as well.
Thanks, Ross, for that race. That was really fun.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Jesus. Okay.
Alright guys, so that was a really exciting race that we just got done with. So we've got Mickey Gnu versus Lord Alu. Their PBs are about a minute and a half from each other, so... And then with this category, and there's quite a few mistakes that can literally cost that difference, so... Expecting to see a really nice and close race again. So we're just getting some final setup going on, and then we'll be underway. So let's go ahead and take a peek at their PBs really fast. Mickey's got his real-time PB is 1 hour 13 minutes 26 seconds. Got that about 7 months ago. And Lord Alu, his PB is 1 hour 15 minutes and 2 seconds from about a year ago. Seen both run. I've definitely seen Mickey D-Rust pretty recently, so we'll see how that goes. And then Lord Alu, he's been pretty busy lately, but he has been able to make some time to race with us for this tournament.